Welcome to another episode of A Day in the Life of Rural Reentry. My name is Jody Hanson, and I serve as the Executive Director of Remnant Initiatives, where we help folks return from prison back into community to be successful and educate the public on why we should all care about that. Over 95% of everybody that we lock up in this country is coming right back to the neighborhood. And when those folks succeed, when they get jobs, when they get stable housing, when they raise their families, when they pay their taxes and never commit another crime, we all succeed by enjoying healthier, safer, flourishing communities. Right now, COVID-19 is making our work even more important. Prisons are a hotbed for the infection. You may have read about this. And we're the only prison reentry program in the area that has been proactive in ensuring that our folks are tested, isolated until those test results come back, and then healthy and fully ready to reintegrate into community, even a community where everything's changed since they left. It's been a wild month since our last video, last two videos, when we talked about what happens on release day, that day that people leave prison, the very first day, moving back into community. And so it seemed natural that this episode, we would talk a little bit about release planning. And this is a process that starts 4 to 6 months generally before the day somebody will walk out of a prison. And there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of planning that goes into making sure that things are in place so that on day one, when someone walks out of a prison, they have the tools that they need to be ready to be successful. And so I thought one of the easiest ways for me to explain what goes on with release day was to show you this email. Don't worry, I'm not going to read it to you, but it is a great illustration of everything that goes on. First things first, look at how many people are copied on this. Okay, this is the distribution list up here. And this gentleman, Mr. A, is coming back into our community, and he has some pretty significant mental health challenges on top of just the general challenges that somebody releasing from prison would have to face. And so who's all being sent this email? Well, I get it because I get copied on these almost every week or so. We're constantly in a process of preparing for people that are going to be coming out in the next few months, weeks, whatever. And then also, of course, his PO and the release counselor from the institution where he's presently residing. Several volunteers on here, 2 that will be supporting him after he releases back into community, making sure he has transportation and whatever else it needs. Whatever else he needs to be successful. And then also there's a volunteer on here who's actually known him through a church service that she provided within the institution where he serves. So we've got a lot of people here who know Mr. A and want Mr. A to do well. So Heidi is our program director, says, "Good morning. I wanted to send an update on all verified details, services, supports, where we're at right now. And thank you all for your hard work in helping to support Mr. A and this community. Let me know if I've missed anything." So then we go down to 10 bullet points. She has like a ton of bullet points here, starting with release day transportation. Who is it that's going to be providing that ride? And then, of course, that we will be providing a cell phone so that Mr. A immediately has a number and that everyone will have this number prior to that date. Most importantly, that Virginia Garcia's clinic will be able to reach him on that phone number to set up the telemedicine appointment and same-day testing for COVID-19. He's also going to need that phone when he is in self-isolation at the Yamaha County Gospel Rescue Mission. That director's on this list too. And he'll be there until those test results come in. But luckily, he will have telecommunications and the ability to Zoom or Skype or whatnot with any providers that he needs to check in with early in his release. And then after that period of isolation, he will be housing at Helping Hands. This is our community-based transitional housing option in Yamhill County. And also that longer term, he does qualify for some other housing options because of his mental health challenges and services that he was receiving in the community before he was incarcerated. Sadly, because he wasn't, I don't know how to say this, wasn't impaired enough, he did not qualify to have those services set up by the folks inside the Department of Corrections so that they would be ready the day he came out. So we're gonna have to figure that out after he gets out here into community to make sure those longer term housing options are in place. And then of course, what the different volunteers are going to be providing to him in the way of support. So you can see there are a lot of moving parts. It's crazy. Release planning is very complex, and the pandemic has certainly made it even more complex. And if someone does not have this kind of community-based reentry support to help them out here while they're still incarcerated and have limited access to telephones and other types of communication within the community out here, then it's up to staff from the prison, and that prison may be located far, far away. Those staff generally don't know anything about our community. They don't know all these people. It's up to them to try and figure this all out. And sadly, and quite frequently, it just doesn't get done. And every day in this state, people are being put on a bus, going back to a community like ours, where they have to figure that out themselves. And if over 95% of everyone that we lock up is coming back, then unless we are willing to give a life sentence for every crime to every person, and also to quarantine all the prison staff that go in and out of these institutions, then we better all care about making sure that those folks come back healthy and with the tools that they need to succeed. And this is why we are launching our very first fundraising campaign at Remnant Initiatives. Over the last 2.5 years, we have been supported by a small, very committed group of donors and a small grant from the Yamhill County Department of Community Justice. And it's simply not enough anymore for us to be able to do this work in the midst of the pandemic. What's more, many reentry programs around the country are actually pulling back due to the crisis. They're saying that COVID-19 is requiring them to do less. We don't want to do that. We want to do more. And we realize that this is a really hard time for a lot of people. But if you are one of those who is able to join us in supporting this work, we commit to using your dollars to making this community a safer, healthier place for all of us to live. And we thank you so much for joining us for this video blog. And until next time, I'm Jody Hanson. Be safe, stay well, phase in reasonably, and we'll see you later.